Weddings just bring people together, don't they? That is a quote from the movie Twilight. It might not be a direct quote. I just have been thinking it all day about this episode, and I sat down to record and I realized, oh my God, bitch, you got that from Twilight. And it's so true. Hi, welcome back to Naked and Noisy, Manifestation Tools for the Professional Woman. I'm your host, Natalie Hughes, life, mindset, and manifestation coach. I help professional women to co create emotionally fulfilled and purpose driven lives for themselves. I'm also engaged, I'm getting married. And for those of you who have been long-time listeners, you might be thinking to yourselves, Natalie, what groom? And in response to that thought, I say, we've got no fucking clue. I've got an idea or two, but that remains to be seen. And still, that doesn't matter. That don't matter. Because I'm a manifester. And I'm manifesting. I'm getting married. I'm expecting a marriage, a proposal, a 6-carat oval cut diamond ring, not a child. But soon after, no, focus, because we don't have time for your shenanigans right now. I got like 50 MBs. I don't even know what the fucking MB is. Megabytes? I have 50 MBs left. We already wasted 3 on your shenanigans. Focus. No ADHD allowed in today's episode. That's it. Weddings bring people together. I'm getting married. I've been thinking about marriage. I told you in last Monday's episode, the one right before this, I found the most amazing wedding venue. I know what my hairstyle's gonna be, a French roll and a tiara. I'm gonna look so elegant and so beautiful. I've been changing my mind regarding my wedding colors and just being flexible in all kinds of really beautiful, lovely ways. And I've also been thinking about my dad, who is dead. And it may come as a surprise to you, but people do not come back to life. Especially him. I mean, he was cremated. So I'm never going to see him again for as long as I live. And he's not going to be at my wedding. And I don't think anybody will be giving me away. I don't think that anybody was ever going to give me away, even when he was alive. Like, when I was thinking about my wedding, I never thought about my dad giving me away. We were not close. I didn't really know him. I didn't like him for a majority of my life. And then, as a man who abandons his children would do, when I was getting older and our relationship was getting better, he abandoned me once again. But the final kind of abandonment, the one where he dies. So I've been thinking about him a lot lately and feeling his presence. I'm a psychic medium. Nobody ever dies. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. He's still there on the other side. Yada, yada, yada. We get it. But still, on my wedding day, my dad's not going to be there. And I've been making my jokes about having 100 to 150 of my closest friends and family at the event. I've got about 3 people on the guest list. Since Monday, it has expanded a little bit because as I start to see this wedding and I start to see visions of this coming to life, like, I can see myself in this place. I can see the after party, which is going to be so epic. And I just am seeing and receiving and being inspired and happy. And the thought came into my mind, wouldn't it be nice to have your family there? You don't think that it would be a little bit nice to have your family there, your relatives there? None of them? And I'm thinking about my dad, and I'm thinking about my family, and I'm thinking about my ancestors. I'm thinking about my grandparents who, on my father's side, I didn't really ever get to know. I think my grandmother and my grandfather on my father's side died relatively close to one another. So I got to meet one of them, but I don't know which one it was. I believe it was my grandpa that died right before I was born, but I don't remember, so don't quote me on that. And so I'm thinking about family and cancel culture because I'm really good at leaving. And I've also been thinking about my current soulmate. And the lovely thing about loving a Scorpio man is that people and who they are and their zodiac signs, when they come into when they come into our lives, they help us unlock and heal and elevate in whatever way that whatever way their sun sign and their energy and their whole chart is lit up for us. So I'm a Pisces sun. If I've come into your life, you probably find that you are a lot more spiritual and you believe in God and maybe you're more kind and compassionate, but I also am a Mars ruled woman and I have an Aries stellium. So being in my presence probably makes you want to get the fuck up and get to work. Amen. Thank you, Miss Motivational Speaker, right? It's like as human beings, we are crystals and we bring energy into environments in people's lives. And so, loving this Scorpio man has brought so much change and transformation into my life. And the thing about men, or the thing about people in relationships in general, but for me, it's been men in my romantic relationships, is that they're always teaching me something. Even if they're not talking to me, a man can teach me something by ghosting me. A man can teach me something by saying absolutely nothing to me. A man can teach me something by not responding to my messages. A man can teach me something by what he says to me on a date. Every single man that I have ever dated or dealt with, the people that I talked to that I just matched with casually on dating apps, they don't count. I'm talking about the people that I had actual kind of connections with, okay? I can go back over every single one of those people and I can tell you what they taught me about myself, about the stories that I was telling, about what I got to have in romance, about what I didn't want to have in romance, right? So people are always teaching us. It's not that this Scorpio man has come into my life and said to me, I'm going to teach you how to forgive. It was more like I came into this Scorpio man's life and then he disrespected me, and then I still felt there was a connection there, and then my subconscious mind and my spiritual body and my logical mind, I've talked about this for a million podcast episodes. We don't have the space to go over the entire story. It's a lot to talk about, but there was a conflict there, and it was just kind of like, do you know what would be really easy? If you forgave him and allowed him to become a better person and allowed him to treat you better and allowed him to treat you differently. And that was very difficult for me. So we've had many conversations about the history of enslaved people, the Black family, generational trauma, forgiveness, understanding, holding a standard. I have grown so much from this connection because, like I was saying earlier, I used to be the queen of cutting people off, and I thought that that was a strength. Fuck you. I'm done. I don't need this because like I said, I have an Aries stellium, and I have a Scorpio rising, and a Pisces sun. Hell, with my Capricorn moon, I could be alone for the rest of my life just focusing on my career, and I'd be okay. There was a time in my life when I would have described myself as my own best friend. And it's not a sad thing at all. I love myself, and me being alone and healing and trusting myself has been such a huge part of my journey. So there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing bad about that or unworthy of love about that. But I've been learning a lot about connection, and I've been learning a lot about people. And I realized that me cutting people off and pushing people away was not me being a fully functioning, healthy adult. It was not me being independent. Well, it was me being hyper independent, but it was me being defensive, and it was me feeling unsafe with other human beings. And it was me opting for self isolation instead of putting in the work to heal relationships and restore bonds. Something that I've been learning over the past several years, not just in this soulmate connection, but in other relationships like my friendships, is that insulting people and miscommunications and all of these things are actually a normal part of relationships. And we've talked about that in other episodes, so I won't go over it again. But it is normal, right? We're all human beings from different cultures, from different homes, from different traumas, from different generational traumas, from different societal programming. We all have different ideas of what's good and what's not. And I said I wouldn't explain it, but I did. Who cares? Let's all move on together. So it's normal for there to be a miscommunication. It's normal for there to be a hurt feeling. And after I decided to forgive the Scorpio man, and instead of seeing him as a villain and a terrible, horrible person, see him as someone who is wounded and hurt, who was doing the best that he could at the time, yada, yada, yada. There was more forgiveness and more understanding, and my heart opened up more towards him. And then something interesting happened in my other relationships where if something happened with one of my friends and there was a disconnect with one of my friends, and one of my friends did something that hurt my feelings or insulted me, and I went into that old programming, that old way of being, where I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm done. I'm cutting her off. I'm never speaking to her again. I had another moment of internal conflict where it was like, you're going to cut off this friend who otherwise has been fairly good to you, but you're going to forgive the Scorpio man? And now I'm sitting here like, oh my God. So if I cut her off, then I have to cut off my hoe? If I cut off this woman, then I have to cut off this guy? Is that what you're telling me? They're like, well, we're not telling you anything, but there is a little bit of hypocrisy going on here, sister. And I don't think that that's who you are. I don't think that that's who you want to be. So let's take a moment to reflect and sit with that. And so there have been moments over the past couple of months. Of course, I'm still a woman that has boundaries. Of course, I'm still a woman that has certain things that to me are unacceptable, certain experiences to me that make me not want to connect with people. And actually, let's talk about that 2.5 because it's very relevant. I've had to sit with myself and I've had to ask myself, what is my line? What is my boundary for when I am open to repair a relationship and when I'm not? And the answer is spirit. The answer is my own spirituality. The answer is my own calling. The answer is my relationship with my ancestors. couple of episodes ago, I don't remember when, I told you about the woman who insulted me multiple times back to back to back and was just overall emotionally immature, and the situation just irritated the fuck out of me, and I sat with her for like 3 days and I was like, fuck this shit, I'm blocking this bitch and I never want to talk to her again, period. One of the reasons why that was a moment where I blocked her instead of having a conversation, because I'm capable of having a conversation, one of the reasons why that happened was because I didn't feel in my heart that we were meant to be friends. She was someone that I was on the fence about. I want more Black women friends because I love Black women. I love us. I love my culture. And I have cut off my own biological half sisters, and those relationships are never coming back. That's a hard boundary for me. And I am becoming more open and I am becoming more sensitive. And I don't want to do the whole saying never part, but that's a pretty strong one for me. So even though we're talking about repairing relationships and bonds with family, the sister thing, that one's pretty strong. So I had this connection with this woman, and I'm like, I want more connections with Black women. I want more friends that are Black women. I'm having children. I'm not pregnant. I'm not with child. I am not sexually active, sister. But when I do have children, it's so important to me that my children grow up within community. And it's also equally important to me that that community is predominantly Black, because I love myself and I love my culture, and it's important to me that my children are raised in that. So I am on the hunt for Black girl friends. I need it. So I'm thinking maybe this woman is going to be one of my Black girl friends, and maybe she's going to be a maid of honor at my wedding. Like, who knows? The possibilities are endless. And then she behaved in the way that she behaved, and I said, oh no. I was already noticing a couple of red flags. I don't think that I particularly like her temperament in general. And actually she reminds me of one of my abusive older sisters. So I was already super on the fence, and then we had that interaction and I said, yeah, absolutely not. And the rest is history. What is the difference between this girl who disrespected me in conversation and the Scorpio man? Oh my God. The difference is the spiritual. The difference is what I feel. I just had a talk with a friend of mine. I had a couple of talks with friends of mine this week. One of them, I hadn't gotten back to her for like a week because I needed time to sit and figure out my feelings and ask myself, would I like to end this relationship? But actually, no, it was the thing where I was pushing people away and not giving them intimacy and opting to avoid and self-isolate. So I just needed a minute, but I responded back to her today, and, our relationship is good, and she heard what I said, and, whatever. So I had that moment with her, and then I had another moment with another really close friend of mine where there was like just this miscommunication. I was like, ouch, that really hurt my feelings because I feel like she left me on red, yada, yada, yada. And so I'm having moments, especially recently, where there's a miscommunication or something happens, and I take that opportunity to express myself and express, ouch, this actually really hurt me, and it made me feel unwanted, and it made me feel rejected, and it made me feel like I wasn't important to you, and it made me feel like this, and da-da-da-da-da. And so we're having these conversations and we're getting these connections, but the reason why I had those conversations with those women is because I have seen visions of those women being in my life, in my future. One of them, one of my very close friends, I've seen a vision of all of us, like me and my husband and our child and her husband and one of her children, and we're like at this movie premiere and we're walking this red carpet, and I see her and I'm so excited, and then my child sees her, and then my child screams TT towards her, which just means like auntie, and like it's like this whole fucking thing. Like, I have received visions of these women, not just these women being in my life and being such important figures in my life, but also being role models and connecting with my children. And so that for me is the incentive. I'm a spiritual person. The only reason why I was ever willing to forgive and repair the relationship with the Scorpio man is because of the spiritual, because of what I felt, because of what I received. For me, that's the line. And this relationship and this connection with this Scorpio man has really changed me, because I used to just cut everybody off. I'm blocking everybody. I'm deleting everybody on Facebook. I'm so sorry if you're somebody who had a relationship with me and actually felt positively towards me, and one day you got on Facebook and I had removed you as a friend. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just got into this mode of like, why do I have 100 friends on Facebook? I don't like 100 fucking people. I don't know 100 people. I can't name 100 people. I have moments where I just go through my Facebook list for fun. Deleting people like, I don't think I like you. I don't know you. I don't want to be near you. Goodbye. This is the old me. I've healed. I've overcome. And now I'm sitting and I'm having this moment where my ancestors are talking to me, and I'm always wanting to get closer to them, and I'm always wanting to connect with them more. And I love hearing stories about my family and our past. And you guys know that from listening to previous episodes. And they're like, hey, you still have family members that are alive. My father passed away. I didn't really know him. I still have 2 aunts that are his sisters who are living, that have a lifetime worth of stories and memories of him and his father and, you know, their mother and father. And that's valuable. And sometimes with that cancel culture, we can feel like, oh my God, these older people in my family are a little bit ignorant or a little bit boomery or a little bit Gen X-y, or no offense if you're listening to this. I feel like some of my audience could get into the Gen X territory. No tea, no shade. But just, you know, people are not perfect. I'm learning that people are not perfect. And even though people are not perfect, they still have value. People are not perfect. People make mistakes. People misunderstand. People do one thing when they really want to do another. People are operating out of their own childhood traumas and their own societal conditioning. And a lot of us have ancestors who were enslaved or colonized or terribly and horribly treated because of one system of oppression or another. As a consequence of a lot of things that just come a part of being a human being, a lot of us are fucked up. I'm learning that that also includes me. And I'm at a place in my life where I want as much of my family as I can get within my own boundaries. I think about my wedding and I think about, do you just want to have a wedding where you just have your friends? And that's lovely, but if you did have family there, if you did have people who loved you there, if you did have people that knew you there, like, I reached out to a woman, I think she's like my second cousin. I'm going to get on a phone call with her later this week. I literally DM'd her on Facebook, because she's one of those aunties where they will send you, you know, stuff on like Facebook Messenger and stuff. So like she messages me all the time, but we don't really talk, you know what I mean? And I really love her energy, and I loved her mother since the first time I remember meeting her back in the day. There was a family wedding. I think it was my auntie Teresa's wedding, even though I'm not sure. And I was the flower girl, but I don't remember anything of it. I think there's a picture of it somewhere. If I can find the picture, I will get you guys the picture at some point on like Instagram or something. So I was the flower girl, and this, my second cousin, I would refer to her as an auntie. Her mother, when I met her, and her mother, I was like 12 years old. Her mother was the nicest, sweetest woman. Like, she just had like good grandma loving fucking energy. You know what I mean? And she just told me like, oh, you were just the cutest flower girl in the world. And I loved her ever since, because the truth about me is that flattery will get you everywhere. And her mother passed away, and that makes me sad, even though like she's an ancestor now. But it's like, oh, it makes me sad because I loved her mom. So I'm going to get on a call with her and just ask her some questions about her mom and how we're related and, things that she knew about my dad and my grandfather and different things like that so that I can gain a better grasp of my family history. And I reached out to one of my aunts on my father's side, who I don't really know that much, but also I'm allegedly very similar to her. I've seen it for myself. I don't have the space to tell you about it, but I'll tell you about it more later. So, to wrap up this episode so neatly, the conversation that we've just had is that sometimes people are flawed. Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people and family say really stupid shit. Sometimes we do stupid shit because we're operating out of old wounds, because we are trying to do the best for one another. And just because people make mistakes does not necessarily mean that we should throw them away. Now, I'm not talking about people that abused me. I'm not talking about people that gaslit me. I'm not talking about people that went out of their way to hurt me. Those people are still cut off from my own mental, emotional, and physical safety and security, right? But the people that are just doing their best and sometimes a little bit fucked up, sometimes I'm learning you just gotta let some shit go in one ear and out the other because they still have value. And that's the message. And hopefully I'll be back next week with more updates and more conversation. But I hope that you take this as some food for thought. Maybe there's somebody in your life that, even if you can't forgive them yet, you maybe want to look into accepting them, because even with their flaws, they might have some value and support that they can offer you. With that being said, I don't have no more motherfucking space to keep on talking. So check out the links in the description box. Get access into the free resource library. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. And I'll talk to you again next week.